inside a dimly lit government facility in the quiet town of Hawkins in the early 80s. One of the facility's scientists gets attacked by a presumably vicious creature that had been lurking in the facility already. Without any explanation of how it got inside the facility, the scene switched to a group of young boys, Will Byers, Mike Wheeler, Dustin Henderson, and Lucas Sinclair, playing a game called Dungeons and Dragons at a sleepover. With no adult supervision, the kids take out their bicycles and roam the streets of their neighborhoods after midnight. One of the friends is Will Byers, who becomes the next victim of the creature that is kept hidden from the audience once again. As Bill never makes it back home, his mother, Joyce Byers, reports him missing the next day out of concern. The hopeful police chief, Jim Hopper, of the Hawkins Police Department, immediately opens a search investigation for the missing Will. As the plot thickens, the government facilities director, Dr. Martin Brenner, is seen examining a strange organic growth that's been gradually spreading through the facility's basement. Amidst his examination, he presumes that some girl could not have gone far. Soon the girl's mystery is unfolded, revealing a frightened young girl wandering in the town's diner in a hospital gown. The diner owner, Benny, spots the number 011 tattooed on her arm. It hints that she's one of the lab rats from Brenner's lab, and that there are others like her who are identified by numbers instead of real names. Benny calls the social services on 11, but Benny gets to her first as he was monitoring phone activity. He sends his agents to take care of the situation. The agents kill Benny and pursue 11, who succeeds at escaping using her telekinetic powers. Joyce receives a call from an unknown number, which has her convinced that Will is trying to contact her. Simultaneously, Will's friends decide to look for him in the woods, but end up crossing paths with 11. The boys bring 11 to Mike's house and begin brainstorming what to do next. Mike suggests that they should disguise 11 as a runaway kid, so that his mother, Karen, can be fooled into helping her. 11 is quick to refuse their help since she doesn't want to get them involved in her situation of being pursued by the bad guys. In the meantime, Jonathan, Will's elder brother, travels to Indianapolis to see Lonnie, their estranged father, in the hopes of receiving assistance in locating Will. However, Lonnie rejects Jonathan. Then, close to the laboratory grounds, Hopper's search team finds a ripped fragment of a medical gown. 11 persuades the lads that she can assist in finding Will after identifying him in a picture and demonstrating her telekinetic powers. 11 uses their Dungeons and Dragons board as a visual tool to show them that Will is being pursued by the same monster they call the Demogorgon and is stuck on the upside-down side. In another scene, Nancy, Mike's sister, goes to a party with her boyfriend, Steve Harrington, and friend Barbara Barb Holland. Jonathan surreptitiously takes pictures of the event while looking for Will in close proximity to Steve's residence. Joyce hears Will's stereo music playing, gets another weird call from him, and then sees a thing pushing through her home's wall. Later, Barb is attacked by the Demogorgon and vanishes while waiting by the pool by herself. Barb awakens in the Upside Down, a decaying, overgrown replica of reality. She makes an attempt to escape, but the Demogorgon attacks her again. Joyce, meanwhile, starts to believe that Will is communicating with her through pulsating and flickering light bulbs. When Hopper visits Hawkins Lab, the staff lets him view surveillance footage from the night Will vanished, which turns out to be fake. Suspicious, Hopper investigates Brenner's past and discovers his affiliation with Project MK Ultra, in addition to allegations made by Terry Ives, a woman who had accused Brenner of kidnapping her daughter. 11 also recalls being punished by Brenner, whom she refers to as Papa, for not utilizing her telekinesis to hurt a cat. Later, Steve destroys Jonathan's camera after discovering his party photos. When Nancy finds the one surviving picture of Barb, she discovers that Barb never returned home. She goes back to Steve's house in search of hints, finds Barb's car parked unattended, and has a fleeting encounter with the Demogorgon before fleeing. Joyce gives Will a means of communication at home by hanging Christmas lights and painting letters on the wall. As the Demogorgon attempts to breach the wall, he informs her he is right here through the lights and tells her to run. The boys want 11 to lead them because they are certain she can find Will. To their dismay, 11 leads them to Will's home instead. Shortly after, they observe emergency vehicles speeding toward a quarry and follow them, arriving in time to witness Will's body being hauled out of the water. Joyce has a hard time accepting that Will is dead, despite seeing his corpse with her own eyes. Elsewhere, 11 convinces Mike that Will is still alive by using Mike's walkie-talkie to channel his voice. Mike feels duped by 11, but she rebuilds his trust. The boys come to the conclusion that 11 might be able to communicate with Will more effectively if she makes use of the strong ham radio at their school. In the meantime, Jonathan recognizes that the dark figure Nancy spots behind Barb in his picture is the same entity his mother mentioned. After Nancy notifies the police of Barb's absence, she gets into a fight with Steve, who is more worried about staying out of problems with his father than about Barb's safety. When Hopper finds out that the regular coroner was removed from the case, he begins to have doubts about the quarry body. He approaches the state policeman who claimed to have discovered the body and coerces him into admitting that he was lying on instructions. While Joyce hears Will's voice coming from inside her living room wall at home, the boys sneak 11 into the school so she can use the radio. For a moment, she sees him on the other side as she tears off the wallpaper. 11 transmits Will's talk with Joyce over the school's ham radio. After learning that the body is a fake at the morgue, Hopper suspects Brenner of being involved and breaks into Hawkins' lab. But as Hopper looks about the lab, the guards ambush him and render him unconscious. In the meantime, the boys ask Mr. Clark, their physics teacher, if it is possible to travel between different dimensions. He clarifies that a gate connecting one dimension to another could theoretically exist. Later, when Hopper awakens in his own house, he finds a secret microphone placed there, proving Joyce was correct all along. The guys start looking for such a gate by using their compasses to find disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field. 11 also remembers being assigned to telepathically spy on a Russian-speaking man in a sensory deprivation tank when she unintentionally came across the Demogorgon. Out of fear of encountering the creature once more, she tampers with the boys' compasses, making their readings go in the wrong direction. Lucas accuses her of betraying them because he thinks she is purposefully undermining their search, which leads to a confrontation between him and Mike. In a panic, 11 throws Lucas away from Mike using her telekinesis. 11 runs away as Mike and Dustin hurry to assist the unconscious Lucas. In another scene, Nancy and Jonathan come up with a scheme to demolish the Demogorgon. They find a little portal to the Upside Down while investigating the forest. While crawling through, Nancy unintentionally attracts the Demogorgon's attention. Jonathan searches desperately for her, but before he can find her, the gate starts to close. Jonathan pulls Nancy back through the gate just in time. Nancy wants Jonathan to stay in her room that night since she is unsettled and afraid of being by herself. When Steve shows up outside her house in the hopes of reconciling with her, he sees the two of them through her bedroom window and believes they are romantically linked. Terry Ives, who is now catatonic and under the care of her sister Becky, is found by Joyce and Hopper in the meantime. Terry believes Brenner snatched her newborn daughter Jane due to the child's purported telekinetic and telepathic abilities, according to Becky, who explains that Terry was unintentionally pregnant while taking part in Project MK Ultra. Convinced that the Demogorgon is drawn to blood, Nancy and Jonathan assemble weapons back in Hawkins. After calling Nancy a slut and disrespecting Will, Steve confronts Jonathan and gets attacked. After severely beating him, Jonathan unintentionally strikes a responding officer during the commotion, which results in his arrest and booking in the police station. In another scene, 11 breaks into a grocery shop and takes multiple boxes of Eggo waffles. Two bullies corner Mike and Dustin as they look for her. 11 uses her abilities to break one bully's arm after he tries to push Mike into a fatal fall, saving them in time. Overwhelmed, 11 passes out and recalls Brenner telling her to contact the Demogorgon, and how in her panic, she accidentally opened the gate. Lucas alerts Mike that 11 is being pursued by government operatives. Agents surround the area as Mike, Dustin, and 11 flee the residence. 11 utilizes her telekinesis to turn a van that is speeding toward them into the air, making room for them to flee. After Lucas makes amends with 11 and Mike, the group seeks safety in a junkyard. Hopper finds out that 11 is currently with the boys while Nancy and Jonathan share all they know about the Demogorgon with Joyce. Everyone congregates at the Byers' house once the grown-ups are able to get in touch with the children. 11 is actually Jane Ives, as Joyce and Hopper quickly discover. 11 is too exhausted from her previous exertion to use her telepathy to find Will and Barb, despite the group's pleas. To increase her strength, they decide to break into the middle school and build a temporary sensory deprivation tank. Levin returns to the Upside Down after entering the tank, where he finds Will alive and sheltering in the inverted version of his backyard fort. He also discovers Barb's dead body. Hopper and Joyce sneak into Hawkins' lab after realizing that the gate is underneath the building, but they are soon apprehended by security. In an attempt to entice and murder the Demogorgon, Nancy and Jonathan break into the police station at the same time to get the weapons they purchased. The beast breaks into Will's fort in the Upside Down. In order to get permission for him and Joyce to visit the Upside Down and save Will, Hopper, haunted by the memory of his daughter Sarah, who passed away from cancer years ago, tells Brenner where Eleven is. Nancy and Jonathan purposefully cut their palms at the Byers house in order to entice the Demogorgon. Steve enters just as the creature appears, trying to make amends to Jonathan for their earlier altercation. The Demogorgon is forced to withdraw back into the Upside Down when Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan fight it together and set it on fire. When Brenner and his agents show up to apprehend Eleven, she and the boys take refuge inside the middle school. Exhausted but determined, Eleven kills most of the agents before finally collapsing. The guys get an opportunity to flee with Eleven as the Demogorgon, attracted by the blood of the fallen agents, rushes in and attacks Brenner and the others as Brenner and the remaining operatives corner the group. Hopper and Joyce find Will comatose with a tendril stuck down his throat and numerous of the Demogorgon's victims, including Barb, within the Upside Down's twisted version of the Hawkins Library. Hopper uses CPR to revive Will after removing the tendril. The Demogorgon traps the children back at the school, but Eleven gains the fortitude to face it and breaks it apart, making the Demogorgon and Eleven disappear. Later, Will wakes up in the hospital and meets up with his loved ones. After a month, Nancy and Steve reunite as Christmas approaches, but they both continue to be cordial with Jonathan. At home, Will coughs up a monster that resembles a slug and briefly experiences a glimpse of the Upside Down, which he conceals from his family. With that, the first season of Stranger Things ends.